First of all, the Rav Teichtel and what happened when he brought together two communities. Someone wrote a doctorate about Rav Teichtel, a postman named Hershkowitz. He wrote about his ideology and how it changed, and he pointed out, and I think I said this the other day, that there's a slow change in Rabbi Teichel's approach to non-religious people, non-religious members of the Jewish community. So in 1926, he writes an article that he's calling Mechalei Shabbat. He considers them to be full-fledged goyim. And he really writes very negatively about them in an article that he writes in his book. You don't have this in front of you, I'm just reading from my thing. He wrote a sefer called Tov Yigal, or he's quoted in the sefer called Tov Yigal. He wrote a piece of it in like an article in there, and he talked to me, very derogatory about non-Shomer Shabbos people, almost called them incorrigible behemoths. They couldn't be corrected. Now, by 1932, it seems he's already undergone a bit of a change, and he's no longer considering them to be completely out of the pale, but there may be halachic reasons and considerations. There may also be social reasons. He was actually asked to deliver a sermon in the Neolog synagogue. Neolog is like the Reform synagogue. It was called the Neolog, and then the opposite were the traditional synagogues. So the Neolog, which means the new synagogues. So he was given an opportunity to give a drasha in that Neolog synagogue about the importance of putting on tefillin. And he spoke about that. He spoke also about not just doing mitzvot, he also spoke about trying to create unity among the different congregations in Hungary. So he wanted to actually bring everybody back together. Now, this happens at the same time that Nazism is ascending. You have also Slovakian and Hungarian nationalistic movements taking place. This may have had an impact upon Rav Teichel, as he saw more of a hatred outside of his immediate community to all Jews, but his wanting to unite the ranks may have been tempered not just with ideology, but also with a fear of what would be if every Jewish community breaks into different factions, different groups. So this is once again you have the Orthodox and the Neologues. This is going on, by the way, since probably the 1920s, and the Hungarian leadership, the secular leadership, allowed them to keep separate communities. They were all Jews, but they didn't force them to come together. And then you find that somewhere during the war, Rav Teichel managed to bring the two communities together, at least in his town of Pishtian. And here's what happens. The Jews of Pishtian, most of them have been deported. You have a very small number of Jews who remain in Pishtian. This is the town of Rav Teichel before he runs away, before the town is completely decimated, and before Rav Teichel is forced to hide and forced to eventually flee from the city. So the Orthodox shul was a very small number of Jews, and they couldn't find a shochet. There was no more shochet there. I don't know if he died, he was deported, sent away, got sick. So they came to Rav Teichel, and this is the Orthodox shul, asked Rav Teichel if he would check out the shochet for the Neolog congregation. It's fascinating. These are Reformed Jews who have a shochet who is practicing shechita for them. They're Reformed, but they're still concerned about shechita, right? So what happened was that he agreed to it. He set up certain conditions, and he actually capitalized on this, and he used this as an opportunity to merge the two communities together. They were separate communities, as if you could imagine to say that one day Holy Blossom and Agudas Yisrael would come together in the city of Toronto. The only caveat was he set it up under the Orthodox congregation's auspices, so they had to follow the rules of Orthodoxy. And in April 26, 1942, Rav Teichel met with the leaders and officials of the Orthodox and Neolog congregations in Pishtian, and they signed the merger together. And here's the document that they signed. It goes as follows. Be'ezras Hashem, with God's help, I copy here letter for letter the court ruling that we, the undersigned, issued here in Pishtian on the first day of the Parsha of Emor in the year 5702, 1942, at a time of harsh decrees of destruction of the communities here in the state of Slovakia. May God have mercy on us speedily. And here's what we signed. Quote, with God's help, Be'ezras Hashem, this is their decree. And b'masa shlosha, in the setting of three, means the beis din is convening. Convening is one, that we're sitting together as one beis din. We received the officials of two existing congregations at this location. They claimed before us that due to the ghastly decree of deportation of the householders, the balbatim, very few householders remain, and ritual slaughterers and checkers had been exiled. There's a shochet and there's a bodek, leaving behind only one slaughterer checker, shochet bodek. In many cases, the shochet bodek was the same person. He shechted, and then they checked it. In a very large operation, you have one person shechting and one person checking to make sure there are no sirchas, the lungs are okay, there's no deformities and so forth. But usually you find that you call a person as a shochet, call him a shochet or bodek. Okay. Rav Yashka, that's his name, a slaughterer bodek who served in this capacity for the new Neolog congregation, if they would, we could accept him. They asked me to allow him to be the slaughterer checker for our Orthodox congregation as well, there being no alternative in any case. We sat as a court and reviewed the matter, and before all else saw fit to merge the two congregations into one under the Orthodox banner. The heads and officials of the two congregations agreed. Thus, henceforth, all the remaining householders, Balbatim, shall be one congregation under the Orthodox banner of the old congregation. I think they were all called the old shuls. Furthermore, we accept the aforementioned Rav Yashka as as the slaughterer checker for the aforementioned single congregation. Now that he has accepted the terms of membership and has agreed to be retrained under my authority, from this day on he is fit to be the shochet bodek, the slaughterer checker, in all God-fearing and Orthodox congregations everywhere. May blessed God deliver us speedily, tell our woes, say enough, die litzarosenu, send us the Mashiach speedily in our days, amen. In witness thereof, we fix our signatures to this on the first day of the portion of Emor, in the court of Pishtian, and he copies here the heads, who's actually the signatories. And in witness, I put my signature, Yisachar Shlomo Teichel, head of the local rabbinical court. So we actually brought them both together.
What was the year then?
1942.
And the congregants all signed too?
No, but this is the beis din that's signing and giving a ksav kabbalah to a shochet. To accept the shochet that he would shech for everybody in the community was a fairly significant thing. He was now the shochet. You could not bring in other words, many communities limited and restricted bringing in meat from the outside because they knew their shochet. So the shochet was under the control or the supervision of the local rabbinate. So he's saying that this guy who belonged to the Neolog congregation, which means he had reformist tendencies, which means regardless of whether he was a shochet, he surely was not the most, religious, traditional. We're surely not a traditional fellow. He's broken with the traditional community.
But the shechting is still the same, isn't it?
Yes, but if he's a person who is not traditional, who knows what he's really going to... You can only accept the shochet if you trust him in his piousness. There are all kinds... Look, the truth is there are many complex halachos in terms of shechita. To shech the animal, for example, you have to make sure there are no nicks on the knife. Right. Who will know? Who will know if there's a nick on the knife? You have to make sure the knife is so sharp that it cuts without any pressure. You're not pressing down on the knife. So that's that. Now, the shochet is working one chicken after another. Right? Who will know if there's a nick? Who will know if the shochet made the knife work because he pressed down harder on it? Who will know if the knife was covered when it went?
Then the thing is, you wouldn't know if the real what we call the real shochet.
Correct. Therefore, that's exactly it. Therefore, to begin with, before you accept the shochet, you need to know that he is he's trustworthy as an individual. Okay. He's not going to cheat. You know this. Look, anyone can cheat, but you see his personal behavior. See, he's committed to a life of Torah mitzvot. He has never broken away with Torah mitzvot. He's not cheating. I'm sorry. His Yiras Shamayim. He follows Shomer Shabbos, Shomer Mitzvos. He's not just a guy who's going to cut corners. When it comes to his relationship with the Almighty, he does the full blown thing.
But this smells a little bit of selling your birthright.
No, not really. No. So in other words, but the point of it being that regardless about whatever may have been concerns in the past, Rav Teichel used this opportunity to bring the two communities together. Not just simply, they only asked to accept the shochet. But he used this as an opportunity to bridge the communities, to bring them together, which was actually fairly radical. I said, you have to consider this as if like the Agudi here would reach out to Holy Blossom.
Would that ever happen?
Could that ever happen?
Yeah. Could that ever happen?
It could happen, but not likely in our community at this present point. Right. There has to be there are outside pressures of what's going on, which is tugging at the community, squeezing the community. There's nobody there. The Nazis are at the doorstep. right? This is what will happen. We'll have no meat. How do we get around this? That would have to happen first. Okay, so there are more moderate elements between Holy Blossom and between Aguda that have come together, have more of a working relationship. I tried to give you 2 examples of things that are very far apart.
Right.
I don't mean to single out the Agudas Yisrael.
No, I understand.
Could be anything else that you want to choose.
Yeah.
Right. So this is one of the I think the indications how Rav Teichel himself was beginning to change. He probably could not have changed. He probably could have not done this in 1926 when he was calling Machal Shabbos animals. Right? It's easy after he made a change. He's accepted them as part of the community, and now when push comes to shove, he's able to tweak it a little more to be able to accept the shochet. You have to understand the shochet. If he belonged to the Neolog congregation, it's like saying that a person would belong to the Reformed synagogue. Even if he were trained as a shochet, the fact that he's shochet in a Reformed synagogue, would that make him trustworthy?
But that's like saying also, would I go to a Reformed doctor?
Would you go to a Reformed
doctor?
doctor?
If I'm sick and I can't find
would you go to a witch doctor?
Well...
Would you go to a witch doctor?
No, that's a different kind of medicine.
That's a different kind of medicine. It's a medicine that you feel is not proper medicine. And if you do, or would you, if you were a doctor and you were prescribing voodoo...
I understand.
If you're prescribing voodoo, what does that mean about you as a physician?
Yeah.
That you're trying untested ways. You're trying ways that have been discredited. And I specifically said voodoo and not natural homeopathic medicine because there is some validity to these kinds of things. Okay, so that at least gives you a sense of what Rav Teichel and how he's moving along. But I thought that was an important thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so we are on, I believe in the Hebrew on 77 on the bottom of the page.
77.
In the Hebrew, on the English on page, I believe on page 106.
Right.
Is that correct? Does that sound right?
Yep. I think so.
So it looks like that's where the books are folded over. What do you say, Dan? You trust me. Have a munas chachami. You believe that I believe I'm correct. Okay. Yep. I'm quite sure. So what he was trying to say until now is that when the Gula will come, no Jew will be left behind. In other words, it's not just for tzaddikim. If there's going to be a Gula, even a Jew who's not perfect, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to take and redeem as well. So I'll call upon him. This is in the Hebrew on the last paragraph in 77, on the bottom paragraph in 106. Al kolpanim ze borosh shum echad misrael afila yoter garua. No member of the Jewish community, even the worst of the worst, lo yeh nidcha beit hagula. He will not be abandoned or banished from the time of the future redemption. V'yashuvu kulam ligvulam. They'll all return. Obviously, what he's trying to set up here is that if the worst of the worst are going to be redeemed, the fact that the secular Zionists have gone to Israel, they're just kind of greasing the way for all of us.
Yeah.
You can't say they because what the alternative was, the traditional approach of Hungarian rabbinate was that they ruined it. Right? They're going to Israel and they're breaking away from Jewish tradition and becoming secularists is causing all these troubles. And Rav Teichel is saying, no, it's not causing the troubles. They're just simply leading the way for the rest of us to come because everybody's got to come to Eretz Yisrael. And the Geulah is about to take us to Eretz Yisrael. And the Kadosh Baruch will accept them with love and with love and I guess more love. I'm not sure they translated love and affection.
He says Zebarur. Why is it so clear?
He's referring to the previous thing we had done last time,
says
which you didn't like either.
Everybody suffered, then everybody should have the Geulah.
Right, which he said everybody will suffer and everybody will have the Geulah. Everybody will have the Geulah. No, everybody. And what he tried to show is that it's not just simply for individuals, but rather everybody will be included in that call to come to Eretz Yisrael. What Hillel did was Hillel reached out to people who he went beyond the letter of the law, and is HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to reach out to these people as well, and even the people in Mitzrayim who were not just the people who were like the bird, were the tzaddikim, but the people with the dross, who were in the dross as compared to the gold. Even these people were taken out of Mitzrayim. Not like we said that 4/5 were stayed behind. Everybody got out of Geulah from Mitzrayim, and everybody will go in the future Geulah.
In the future.
In the future. He's talking about the future.
So in the future, all Jews will be Jews.
Well, all Jews,
part of it.
all Jews will all be united together. I said it goes hand in hand. You believe in this Jewish unity concept, and the fact that it's not just Jewish unity because we're all going to sing, Hine Metov Manoim. It's all about really Jews coming together because we're all going to be part of the Geulah. If the Geulah came about in miraculous ways, then perhaps it would only be for those who are zocha for a miracle. But the fact that we have to work through hardships, the hardships are on the religious, the non-religious, the hardships are on all Klal Yisrael, and all Klal Yisrael will be taken to Eretz Yisrael. Right. So I tell you what he's really going here is to say that those who are there ready, even if I, he says Rav Teichler, would consider them wicked, or my buddies, my colleagues in the Hungarian rabbinate would consider them wicked, when the fact that they're there is part of the process towards Geulah. It's not simply they're there and they're ruining things. They're part of the process because eventually we all got to get there.
It's a very strong statement.
It's a very strong statement.
My cousin who watches TV on Shabbos or something.
Yeah.
He says, not even one from Israel. I feel even the worst one.
That's correct.
He wouldn't be rejected in the time of the Geulah. So you have a guy who's involved in riots just then. Then Geulah happens. He'll also come.
Yes. That's exactly the radical statement he's saying.
That's fine. That's great. But him saying that Zebarur, it's clear. I don't see that it's clear at all. It's
clear with everything that he believes that he said. He said until now, remember, here's what he said. He said, only on one part. He talked about, there was a discussion that the student of the Ari had with the Ari and said to the Ari, how come you're such a great guy? If you're like a nobody, your neshama is so low, why do people think you're so great? And the Ari said, had I lived in a previous generation, right, I would have been greater, but I'm stuck in the generation that's down, and what I'm doing, this is as high as I can go. If I lived in a different, it's all dependent upon the generation. And then he quoted someone else, I forget who, Menachem Rimanov or someone else who said, and surely in our generation, where things are more difficult, and in our generation where it's so hard to be a Jew, if you get up and say I'm Jewish, and you break every mitzvah, that itself is a Jewish identity. So that itself, in other words, being a Machal Shabbos today is different than being a Machal Shabbos 500 years ago.
Right.
We all understand that.
I follow that, and it's good. The gradual how he builds it is good. But here he takes a leap.
Yeah,
the leap. It's a strong statement that I feel is not supported from.
Well, it's what he believes to be true. That every Jew is going to say that there's part of this, because part of the things he had quoted earlier was that there will be tons of tzaros, everybody's going to suffer the tzaros, and everybody will eventually be redeemed. We can go back and do it again, but go back and you'll take it and read it over again. You'll see he talks about the fact that everybody is going to be part of the tikkun that goes on.
It's very interesting, because if you look at
you have the Hebrew, look on page 76. Right. Look at the top of 76. Just look at the end of the first paragraph. The begula hachona yutikun afil ha'shoim ha'gmurim v'chulam yigaelu, and so forth and so forth and so on. And go into the third paragraph at the end. V'yad rabba mitzvah lehovotam lekarvam, not to turn them away. Mm-hmm. Okay, so he's been building up to this concept. It's not coming simply in a vacuum. He's been building up to a concept that being a Rasha is not an exclusion from the Geulah. In fact, Adrabah, to have a Geulah based upon normal practices means everything is going to be normal.
There'll be a tikkun. So they'll be fixed before they are.
So they'll be fixed, but not now. They'll be fixed then. The real question is what's going to happen. Will they be fixed before they get to Israel, or they could get fixed after they get to Israel? Will they get fixed before Mashiach, or is Mashiach going to fix them? And he's actually going to talk about that. Can you fix yourself if you didn't get fixed before Mashiach came?
So it's going to be this Geulah, the redemption will be preceded by a miraculous act to fix even the
maybe, not quite sure if it's preceding or at the same time. It will evolve. The question is which is the chicken, which is the egg.
Right.
And what he's really saying is if there was a Mashiach that showed up at Derech HaNes and did all kinds of miracles, and then those who accept the miracles will go to Eretz Yisrael. Those who don't say forget about it. They won't. Right. But if it's B'derech HaTeva, it includes the entire Jewish people, and the truth is we're all singled out with B'derech HaTeva to be Jews. So even the Jew who is the secular Jew who does not believe and does not practice and does not even believe in a God, that person still is considered a Jew. And that's what the Nuremberg laws were. Hitler said, you have 4 Jewish grandparent, 4 generations back, you're a Jew. He didn't single out whether you're a religious Jew, Orthodox Jew, Neolog Jew, Reformed Jew, practicing secular, nothing. You're a Jew. So everything he's been building up to the fact that everybody will go. Now the issue will come up. He's going to talk about this in a page or two. Which comes first? What if the change didn't happen before Mashiach? The Zionists are there, and Mashiach comes, and they're still secular Zionists. Can they still change?
Whatever the Nuremberg laws, I mean, we don't have to go off the Nuremberg. That's their Nazis.
Right.
That's what they thought.
But I'm saying, but do they change before? Do they change after Mashiach comes? Right. And if they don't change before Mashiach comes, then when will they change? Or maybe they don't change. And if they don't change, what are they doing there? Because everybody's supposed to change. That's the tricky part that he's going to come to. So anyway, back here. So everybody he considers, and this, but Dan is correct. This is the linchpin of everything that he's writing. That every Jew will be part of this Geulah, and therefore, if you kind of went to Israel, you're one step up. Oh, you're not religious. Doesn't mean you don't have to be religious to go to Israel. The redemption is to go to Israel, and the redemption will include every Jew, and therefore those who are there have actually taken the first step. And we who are not have not taken the first step.
So even if you're more religious here or observant or whatever, you haven't made that step yet.
Right.
So.
Okay, and once again, I have to remember this is 1943. It's not after 1948, and it's not today, 2018.
So how can we use the story of Noah to... I mean, I understand they weren't Jews in those days, but the fact is that the ones that went into the ark were saved, and the ones that didn't go into the ark were annihilated.
It was not about Jewish people. It was about the
No,
world.
I understand, but even at that time, Hashem chose who to save and who not to save.
So the Medrash says when God made the world the first time around, He based it upon din, upon judgment, strict justice. When God recreated the world after Noah, He made it with din and with chesed. So the world has got more flexibility.
Yeah.
Because when you have chesed built into it, you sometimes can make a straight line a little bit curved. You got more latitude, more rachmanis.
Because when you bring it to today,
right.
I mean, there's the Orthodox looking down on the Reform.
Oh, that's exactly what he would not say.
Yeah.
That's why I gave you the example about where when the push came to shove, he was willing to accept the Nialag Shochet to be the Shochet for his community. That I don't think we realize what a leap that is. That's a real leap to say a person who belonged for a number of years to this Nialag congregation that belonged to a Reform or radically left-wing Orthodox conservative shul who doesn't keep the mitzvot, but yet was trained as a shochet and shechted for them in some form or another, he's now going to be accepted as the shochet for the Orthodox Jews. That's a real leap.
Because they didn't have one, right?
Well, so it's affected by the social issue, the fact that when the Nazis are outside, it's affected by the reality there's nobody else.
Yeah.
The fact there's nobody else doesn't mean that you have a person shechting who's not a shochet.
No, that's right.
It's affected by the fact he was able to merge them together in his leadership, so he felt he could retrain the shochet.
That's right.
And you're right, there was no other choice. But that's a leap from the other people who would have thrown this guy out.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Or would have said that his congregation was responsible for the problems that they had with the Nazis. That would have been the flip side. Okay, let's go back here. Okay. So everybody will come back and HaKadosh Baruch Hu will accept them without Chiva. Kfar Hayah came b'mei Ezra. This is what actually happened in the days of Ezra. The Chsiv, Haboim Shevi b'nei Yagolah Hikrivu Olot L'Lakei Yisrael Parim Shnei Masar. The people who came back with Ezra, they brought different kinds of Olot, burnt offerings, 12 parot. And it says in the Talmud, the Rabbi Yehuda Omer, Dialavoda Kochavim Hevi'um Shasu B'mei Tzidkiyahu. That the idolaters of Tzidkiyahu's generation were still alive, and it's these people who came back with Ezra. V'parach b'Gemara, the Gemara asks, V'ha mezidim hayu? Didn't they actually behave this way improperly and worshipped idols intentionally? How could they be the ones who were bringing karbanot to Kadosh Baruch Hu when they came back with the days of Ezra? So the way the Talmud understands it, these people who were worshipping idols with Tzidkiyahu, who are now returning with Ezra, they now turned around. What happened? Uperish Rashi, The Dora Shel Tzidkiyahu Mezidim Hayu. The generation of Tzidkiyahu, they were actually willful. Ubnei Ketola Ninhu. V'la Bnei Karban Ninhu. They were people who should not have been accepted, and they would not bring people who could bring a korban. V'hechad Miskapin B'hach Korbanot. And how could they bring these korbanot? It was actually a decision that was just made for that point. Perish Rashi, and Rashi explains there, the Alphagav the Hayim Mezidim Hayim Kaprim, even though they were people who were intentional, sinned intentionally, they were their korban was they were forgiven. Rabbeinu Gershom Ogola Perish B'Tmura Al Teretz Shas, the Horat Shoah Hita was a decision for that generation. Lefnim Mishuat Adin. So it was one time decision that they allowed people who were still worshiping idols to bring korbanot in the Beis Hamikdash. Al kol panim hincha roesh HaKadosh Baruch Hu az afilu leila kofrim gemurim of avodah zarah. You see, based upon the way the Talmud interprets, these people who came back with the Golah, with Ezra, who were still the old-time idol worshippers before the destruction of the Beis Hamikdash, who are now returning, who maintain their idol worship, they accepted at one point that she'ein lecha davar yoter chamor mizeh k'mvur b'shvuot. So he said there was nothing greater than that more chamor than these people. Alpha Pikain lo dacha otam misimchat hagula. Ezra did not stop them, and the Almighty did not stop them, or the prophets didn't stop them from bringing to celebrate the gula. Beglal kain barur lishgam atah be'echines kelu gula b'mheir v'yamein omein. So says Rav Teichel, it seems to me that if these people who came back and are still worshiping idols were allowed to bring korbanot in the Beis Mikdash, we in our generation, should we merit the gula speedily in our times, no one should be denied of no one should be denied, even if they're the worst sinners in our own generation, to bring korbanot and be part of the gula. Even though really in our generation, and Dan's going to jump up in a minute, there's no one who really is intentionally rebelling against God. They're more like the Tinok Shenishba, Rakemot Tinok Nishba Ben Akam, Hashem Yodim, V'lonit Gadlu Arocha Torah. They were not raised with the Torah. They grew up in houses. They grew up in a society that stressed not Torah. V'hema Nusim Alakol, and they're really they're unwillingly breaking the mitzvot. Okay, the very Rabbeinu Kadoshi Shelakim Karamarna, that was probably the last time. Asher Vadai the mitzvah lakarvam, it's surely a mitzvah to bring him close. And like the Rambam says in Hilchot Mamrim, Shabanim Shal Parshim Yat Tzibur Kmol Shel Karayim, the B'nei Kfarnit Gadlu Shlo B'racha Torah. It talks about the sons of those who broke away from the Tzibur, the sons of the Karaites. Einam B'chlal Ha'archaka, you shouldn't push them away. Adrab Mitzvah lakarvam, you should bring them close. So Rambam writes in Hilchot Mamrim, the Karaites were coming from the Jewish community. The Karaites were those who did not accept the oral law. They had their own traditions. They lived actually in the Jewish community. Many times were very tightly knit with the Jewish community. Their children, their grandchildren of the original Karaites had no idea what Judaism really was. They're living with Jews, but they understood the traditions of their parents which were passed on, which was to be Karaites. So the mitzvah, the Rambam says, don't push them away, bring them close, because they're not really intentional sinners, just based upon what their knowledge base is, what they learn to be. That's why they're Karaites. If you reach out to them, you can bring them closer. So Rav Teichel is saying, once again, these kind of people in his generation who are secular, who are reformists, who are non-believers, who are depreciating or deprecating Orthodox tradition, are not doing it intentionally. It's what they think we're doing what's supposed to be done. You have a question?
Yeah, comments.
You are going to, yes.
One is that here we see that they were accepted to bring korbanot.
Yeah.
But we accept korbanot even from going. If the korban is good,
sure,
doesn't have mum, we accept them.
Yeah, well,
so that doesn't mean to accept them.
Correct.
Second,
it
was only by Horat Shah.
Yeah. Okay, that's a good point.
Which is the people, the Rebbeim accepted that.
Right.
But who says that Hashem accepts them?
Okay.
And also we say that for Hilul Hashem, which this is what this the Befar is, there is no kapara, there is no acceptance, there is no way to fix that.
Okay, so let me see if I can respond to all of those. Yes, the issue of Horat Shah, I think, is a significant point.
What is that?
Horat Shah means you make a decree for one-time decree to allow something to take place.
It's not people made it, not. It's not like
I think what the Gemara is saying is that the Navi and Ezra accepted it, not that people made it. People brought the sacrifices.
that's what Horat Shah means.
Horat Shah. I'll give you an example of Horat Shah. Horat Shah is when Eliyahu brings a korban in Hara Carmel, and it's against the prophets of the Baal. To bring a sacrifice to God on the Mount Carmel is definitely not accepted. You can't do that. You had to have you went to Mishkan, or you went to wherever it was, Shiloh, whatever it was. Why did Eliyahu do it? So the Talmud says it was Horat Shah. But Horat Shah is not made by the rabble-roused crowd. It's made by responsible leadership. Eliyahu and the Rabbanan and so forth. So the fact that it was Horat Shah is a good point. We don't have a right to make Horat Shah. But it does show that they could make Horat Shah to kind of twist the law to accept these people. The second thing... The korbanot. Well, let's go back to that. That brings me back to the korbanot. The issue with the korbanot is not that the people were wicked. The concern was the people were worshiping idols. So when they were bringing the korban to the Beit HaMikdash, maybe they were still thinking about their idols. In other words, you can't bring a korban for Zeus into the Beit HaMikdash. Even if I'm Jewish, even if I'm a Goyish, you could bring a korban that's dedicated for God. The concern was these people who had broken away from God or lived the idol worship lives, even in Bavel, and if they're coming back now, who are they bringing the sacrifice for? That was the concern. And they say, well,
is that you accept the korban.
But you could say they really didn't want to do it for our God. They want to do it for idol worship. I think that was the real concern. So part of it was the Horat Shah that allowed that. But you see that these people, that was the second thing. What was the third point you mentioned? Chilul Hashem. Chilul Hashem is a very funny kind of thing. What does Chilul Hashem mean? Who do you make a Chilul Hashem in front of? The non-Jews? What kind of Chilul Hashem is there? If a person says, I'm Jewish and I don't keep Shabbat, how's that Chilul Hashem? What does a non-Jew know who keeps Shabbat, doesn't keep Shabbat? Chilul Hashem means a person who is Jewish who doesn't identify as a Jew.
Or it's for Jews and non-Jews.
Okay, so it's for Jews and non-Jews. So why is it a Chilul Hashem? I'm not sure why it's a Chilul Hashem. Why?
Because they say publicly that it doesn't matter if you keep Shabbat.
Right, but for the non-Jew of the era, in an age of secularism, this was not considered negative. If everybody's religious, and the Goyim are religious, and the Jews are religious, and someone gets up and says you don't have to be religious to be Jewish, that's a Chilul Hashem for the Jews, and that's a Chilul Hashem for the Goyim. But if someone comes along and says you've got secularism among the general world, and you have secularism that's rampant among the Jewish community, someone gets up and says, I don't believe in Judaism, or I don't believe in doing mitzvot, that's not meant as Chilul Hashem, that's why he doesn't know any better. And the Christians don't know any better about their faith either. I don't see that as Chilul Hashem. So you could argue each of these points, but you're right, Rav Teichel does not. Rav Teichel is the Melamed Zchut. Rav Teichel is looking for the point. It says, here's another example where in desperate times, they made a decision to accept it. Now, maybe it's only a Horat Shah. Maybe our generation we have to make a Horat Shah. Who knows when Mashiach will come, what he will say. So that's what he's trying to say. He's saying all of these are for every rule there's an exception, so maybe we'll also make the exception as well. And the case with the Rambam is actually a very strong concept. The Rambam is talking about, in the Rambam's era, the concern really was not about Jews who were getting up to say, I don't believe. They were about Karaites, right? Karaites who were saying that we don't believe in the oral law. We have our own traditions. And the Karaites, which for us is a non-issue, because Karaites have pretty much died out. There are very few Karaites alive today. Karaites were within the Jewish community. In the 1800s, there was a very famous Karaite called Ferkovich, I forgot his first name, who published a lot of Kitvei Yad, and he published a lot of manuscripts. He knew Hebrew, he understood Hebrew, he was a religious Karaite. He was a frum Karaite, but he was a Karaite. So the Karaites were, and they lived together, they lived with Safuf. And the Rambam writes that therefore you say, well, they're a bad influence. Because people will say, I don't have to keep the oral law, just keep the written law, sit in darkness and Shabbat. Right? Follow just whatever their written law is and not keep the Talmud and so forth. Rambam says, but their children, their descendants, they don't know that. They don't know that they're breaking law. They're just keeping what they were trained with, except they were trained improperly. So I actually think today, and I know we may have a major difference of opinion here, I actually believe that most Jews today fall in that category. I'm not sure if the rabbis of the movements fall in that category because they've studied. I'm not sure if scholars who've really sat down and done theology studies fall in that category. But I'm willing to bet that 95 out of 100 non-religious Jews believe that they're keeping what they think is the right thing to do, except that you don't have to keep religion in North America. They don't have to keep religion in Canada. They don't have to keep religion in Judaism either. I light a Hanukkah menorah 8 days a year. I go to Shul and Yom Kippur. I'm a good Jew. I say Kaddish. That's fine. G'nik. All the other stuff, I know that people are Jewish, but I'm not so religious. That's an option. Because people look at mitzvot today in a very different way. People look at mitzvot as an option, as doing a good deed. I don't have to do it. If I do it, I'm a good person. So I can choose. If there's 613 and I do one, I've done one good deed. As opposed to we say, if there's 613, you do one, you've missed 612. Right? The scale goes the other way.
No, I don't know the facts really, but I simply remember that really Ezra, after he did all this, it really didn't work. That it had to be that Nehemiah came later,
yes,
and he was a much stronger hand,
yes,
and managed to get them in line.
Yes, maybe Ezra was not the right person. Correct. Maybe he was not.
So he bring an example. Look, Ezra, what he did.
Still Ezra. So
yeah, still Ezra, but it didn't work. It didn't.
Okay, look. Here's what I know. Ezra made it into Tanakh, and I didn't. You didn't.
What?
Ezra made it into Tanakh, and you and I didn't make it into Tanakh. So he must have done something right.
Yeah, he did other things. But I don't know if this particular one managed to bring the people into.
See, right. So it's not the only thing he argues in the chapter. He brings the part about the Rebbe Mekaramarno, which was the stuff we did last time. And he talks about the Rambam. I think is a fairly strong point about reaching out to Karaites. Because the Karaites, once again, were a number, went on for many hundreds of years. And you couldn't say that a Karaite was simply, Rambam is saying, reach out to them, try to bring them closer. Bringing them close means you need to train them and teach them what to do. A Karaite that sits in the dark all Shabbos and eats cold food, it's going to be very hard to train that you can light them and you put a heat on, and you can have cholent on Shabbos, right? That goes against the grain. That's the antagonist to what they believe. Okay, let's go on. We want to do a little more. Al Kain, therefore, says Rav Teichel, therefore, Dorenu ze vaday dechaviv l'fnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu v'yitkarvam b'yet hagula b'meher b'ymeinu. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu loves the Jews, and he considers these Jews trustworthy or loveworthy, I should say, and he will bring them close in time of the Gula. V'chein anan einam Hashem l'chacham, and we can't push them away. That's the key. We can't push them away. Adraba, v'chuyav manon l'karvam k'eit achar kolei lo'atzarot shiganu shehigiyanu mitokav hagalut shavar alinu b'shanim alolo. On the opposite and contrary, we have to reach out to them, especially after all the tzoros that have come to us in our present generation, our present generation's time. V'gam Yisrael lo paltu me'agalut. Even the Rishonim, they haven't escaped it. They haven't bailed out of this. V'gam savlu ba'ad sheshem Yisrael nitkanu aleihem. They're called Israel. They're called Jews. They're identified as Jews. And even the worst Jews were identified as Jews. The most secular Jews. And their hearts were weakened. So that they recognized the reforming was worthless. It didn't really bring them to be accepted. They had hoped that by the I think it means the Reformation, doesn't mean so much the reform, that by the Enlightenment, which was a secularization of a lot of societies, Jews would gain acceptance into the general society. It didn't work. Which their ancestors had shown them. They would actually return to us right away. They don't know the way back. They can't understand the way back. They've been strange and far from us. We have to reach out to them and bring them close with all kinds of ways to bring them close. With love of brotherhood. This is what the Rambam wrote. That the children of the people who went away far away from Torah, we have a mitzvah to bring them because they're considered tinok shenishbam, because they've been raised as a tinok shenishbam. This is what the Rambam is really talking about. The halom roisi, and he says, and now I also saw something interesting, and here's where it goes a little bit off a sidebar. The Sefer HaKadosh Ezar Eliyahu. I saw something that found in the Sefer Ezar Eliyahu. Yeah, I want to make sure I'm staying where you guys are on. You on
Yep.
page 108? 108. The Baal Shevet Amusar Shevi, he brings the Yalkut Shimoni. And here's what I talked about, which comes first. Garad Goyim Zamalek, Avdad Rasha Ze Esav, Yechol of Yaakov B'mashma, says Rashaim Lo Nemar El Rasha. There's only one Rasha, which is Esav. V'katav Azeh, Hinei Mamar Zeh Tamua, B'amro Yechol of Yaakov Mishma. It looks like that Yaakov is even included. We would have thought that he would be considered among the wicked people. Amnam nir b'shenakdim l'dagdeg shlom araf yisrael mashma rakamar Yaakov mashma. It's a little bit off topic. Let me see what I want to pick up then. I'm going to skip through this. They talk is really off topic here, and here I'm going to go to the next paragraph in 79. V'agav Omar Davar Pela. I'm now he's going to take I'm going to go to the bottom of 108. V'agav on the top of 79. Agav Omer Davar Pela. I'm going to see something very unusual. Shalriti b'Maril Shekatav, who said Libot HaMashiach Ein Makablim B'Tshuva. So after talking about the fact that people can do tshuva, he says that the Maril says in the days of Mashiach they won't be able to do tshuva. It's what goes back to what we talked about before. V'dugmat zeh in makablim gerim oz. And similar, we will not be accepting converts to Judaism. The metgayer oz eino sem yavot Hashem yitbarach rak l'smach v'simcha Yisrael. A person who joins the Jewish community then is not really sincere. Why they want to become a convert to Judaism in the days of Mashiach? They see how good it is to be Jewish. And because we are waiting every day for Mashiach every day. So the Maril says, if you didn't do tshuva until now, if you didn't return to become a Baal tshuva before Mashiach, or you didn't join the Jewish community as a Jew by choice before Mashiach, you can't do it once Mashiach comes. You should do it now. Everybody's talking about Mashiach. So the Maril says, if you don't do it before Mashiach, you can't do it then. So it looks like you can't return once Mashiach comes. We're talking about going to Mashiach. So all these secularists who have to come back, well, when Mashiach comes, they'll come back. But he says
the fix has to happen before.
I'm sorry?
So the fix has to happen.
So the fix has to happen before, but it's not happening before. Look, this is 1942, and the secular Zionists are still secular Zionists. Why would they change? Well, when Mashiach comes, everything will change. But when Mashiach comes, it'll be too late. It looks like tshuva will not help at all. And Medrash Shir Matzin lo hefach, and I found in Medrash Shir exactly the opposite. When this is what it says in the Medrash, Al Pasuk Masad Dvar Hashem Be'eretz Chadorecha. This is the weight or the prophecy of Hashem in the land of Chadrach. It should be Chadrach is the Melech HaMashiach. The land of Chadrach is the time of Mashiach. Shasid lahadrich kol ba'ilom b'tshuva lefnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So the Medrash Shir Hashem says no. When Mashiach comes, he will bring people back to tshuva. So it does happen at the time of Mashiach. V'cheinu b'tana d've'eliyon. A different kind of Medrash called Tana d've'eliyon. It says, Avishi b'shamayim yeshimcha mevorach l'olam v'lo me'alamim. My Father in heaven, your name should be blessed forever and ever. And you should get a pleasure from your Jewish people, your servants, wherever they live. The fact that you accept the repentance of the people's sin for the sinners of Israel. Even a person did the worst averos, one on top of the other, did tshuva. I will accept him, and I will have compassion on him, and I will accept this tshuva. Who's saying this? So Tana d'Velio is talking about, speaking to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, even at the end of time. Afilo omeidu mecharef megadev klapi malav yachsav yaseh tshuva, ata HaKadosh Baruch Hu mochelo kalu kulam. Even if he curses God, and he's against God, anti this, you will forgive him. You'll forgive everything. Shenemar says, Ati bakachno inei ivrim v'yaznei chershim tebakachno. The eyes of the blind will be open, and the ears of the deaf will be unstopped. So then the lame man will jump like a deer, and the deaf and the mute person will be able to sing. So these people who are lame and blind and deaf doesn't mean physically. It means they're in terms of their relationship to Torah. They don't hear the Torah, they don't see the Torah, they don't know the Torah, they don't jump at the Torah. This is the end of the quote from Tan Velio. The commentator on the Tan Velio says, that if you accept the blind and deaf to be taken literally, so what does it mean in the what does it mean that water will break out? But if you accept that the blind person is blind from Torah, the deaf person is deaf from Torah, then you understand the blind person will see. They found water in the wilderness. What is water? It's there. Knowledge is water. It's talking about a time when people will become unblinded and see the truth. What time is that going to be? When Mashiach is there. So the Medrash and Tanit Ve'Elio about the blind becoming seeing, and the person who can't hear will see, and you'll find water, is talking about a time when water, which is knowledge, is going to be found, which is the time of Mashiach. And therefore, so you see that a person who is a sinner, in the days of Mashiach will be able to change. So, on the one hand, you have a Medrash that seems to say, the Maril seems to say it will not happen in the days of Mashiach. On the other hand, you have the Medrash Shir Rabbah that says Mashiach will accept them, and then you have that Hashem will accept them in the days of Mashiach. So what's going on? It looks like it's back and forth. So I'm going to skip through the rest of that just to get to the punchline. So how can you really reconcile the two opinions between one to the other? So he says, V'liyashev dvarav, and in order to reconcile both of these things, I'm going to go to page 110 on the paragraph. It says, in order to explain his opinion, and the next paragraph, V'liyashev dvarav, at the bottom of that page. So in order to reconcile that the Maril says you can't do tshuva in days of Mashiach, which we point out is going to be a real knock against what Rav Teichel is saying. Nirali de kavanato haytarak layem ala shomim lasot tshuva tekef umiyad. The Maril wrote it, not literally, didn't mean it can't happen. The Maril was warning people, do tshuva now, because if you wait, it'll be too late. As terem biat Mashiach tzikenu. Don't wait for Mashiach, do it before Mashiach comes. Ki b'vaday yoter malahu tshuva kazu ki yedu mechazal. It's better to do tshuva before Mashiach comes. So therefore, do your tshuva now. Be a greater tshuva. Avol be'emet gam Rabbeinu Maril yodel l'divrei Rabbeinu b'alei medrash. But really, the Maril will agree to the medrash. The Mashiach yikabel tshuva b'tshuva l'chol echad miYisrael. That the Mashiach will accept the tshuva of every single Jew. As it says in Malachim, K'ra Hashem et ani amo Yisrael moreh mi'od v'efes atzur v'yazuv v'azin ozer Yisrael v'lo diber Hashem l'chod et Shem Yisrael mitachad l'shema v'yoshem b'yad Yeravam ben Yoash. That he went to save the Jewish people during the days of Yeravam ben Yoash. And the Tanchuma says, and we'll finish off this paragraph, the Tanchuma says about saving the Jewish people in the days of Yeravam ben Yoash, Lo diber Hashem l'chod et Shem Yisrael, that God didn't want to destroy the Jewish people, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu v'vakesh l'shivsol echad miYisrael. God did not want to disqualify any Jews, as it says, Val Yomar ben Enechar Havdel Yavdilani, V'mal ben Echar lo marti lefoslo aben al abonai al achat kama v'kama. If God would not disqualify and separate the ben Echar, He's not going to disqualify the Jewish people. Comes out of this that says the Rav Teichel, even though it looks like the Maril says you can't do tshuva when Mashiach comes, the Maril is only trying to scare people. You want to do the best tshuva, do it now. If you don't do tshuva when the Mashiach comes, the Medrash says in Shir and Rabbah, the Medrash in Tanit Ve'Elio seems to say the same thing, that you can do tshuva. It may not be the best tshuva, but you'll still be able to do tshuva. So which comes first? You don't have to change. Mashiach will come first to make the tshuva. That's what he's trying to say. So it can happen even when Mashiach comes, as he is predicting it to be. Do we know? We don't know. We're not there yet. Stay tuned. Okay, we'll stop here.